Coraline by Neil Gaiman. Fairy tales are more than true, not because they tell us that dragons exist, but because they tell us that dragons can be beaten. Chapter 1. Coraline discovered the door a little while after they moved into the house. It was a very old house. It had an attic under the roof, and a cellar under the ground, and an overgrown garden with huge old trees in it. Coraline's family didn't own all of the house. It was too big for that. Instead, they owned part of it. There were other people who lived in the old house. Miss Spink and Miss Forcible lived in the flat below Coraline's, on the ground floor. They were both old and round, and they lived in their flat with a number of aging Highland terriers, who had names like Amish, Andrew, and Jock. Once upon a time, Miss Spink and Miss Forcible had been actresses, as Miss Spink told Coraline the first time she met her. "You see, Coraline," Miss Spink said, getting Coraline's name wrong, "both myself and Miss Forcible were famous actresses in our time. We trod the boards lovely. Oh, don't let Amish eat the fruitcake, or he'll be up all night with his tummy." "It's Coraline, not Caroline." "Coraline," said Coraline. In the flat above Coraline's, under the roof, was a crazy old man with a big mustache. He told Coraline that he was training a mouse circus. He wouldn't let anyone see it. "One day, little Caroline, when they are all ready, everyone in the whole world will see the wonders of my mouse circus. You ask me why you cannot see it now? Is that why you ask me?" "No," said Coraline quietly. "I ask you not to call me Caroline. It's Coraline." "The reason you cannot see the mouse circus," said the man upstairs, "is that the mice are not ready yet and rehearsed. Also, they refuse to play songs I have written for them. All the songs I have written for the mice to play go oompa oompa, but the white mice will only play toodaloo, like that. I was thinking of trying them on different types of cheese." Coraline didn't think there was really a mouse circus. She thought that the old man was probably making it up. The day after they moved in, Coraline went exploring. She explored the garden. It was a big garden. At the very end was an old tennis court. But no one in the house played tennis, and the fence around the court had holes in it, and the net had mostly rotted away. There was an old rose garden, filled with stunted, fly-blown rose bushes. There was a rockery that was all rocks. There was a fairy ring, made of squidgy brown toadstools which smelled dreadful if you accidentally trod on them. There was also a well. On the first day of Coraline's family moved in, Miss Spink and Miss Forcible made a point of telling Coraline how dangerous the well was, and they wanted her to be sure to keep away. So Coraline set off to explore for it, so that she knew where it was to keep away from it properly. She found it on the third day, in an overgrown meadow beside the tennis court, behind a clump of trees, a low brick circle almost hidden in the high grass. The well had been covered over by wooden boards to stop anyone from falling in. There was a small knothole on one of the boards, and Caroline spent an afternoon dropping petals and acorns through the hole, and waiting and counting, until she heard them plop as they hit the water far below. Coraline also explored for animals. She found a hedgehog and a snakeskin, but no snake, and a rock that looked just like a frog, and a toad that looked like a rock. There was also a haughty black cat who would sit on walls and tree stumps and watch her, but would slip away if she ever went over to play with it. That was how she spent her first 2 weeks at the house, exploring the garden and the grounds. Her mother made her come back inside for dinner and lunch, and Coraline had to make sure she was dressed up warmly before she went out, for it was a very cold summer that year. But go out she did, exploring, every day until it rained, when Coraline had to stay inside. "What should I do?" asked Coraline. "Read a book," said her mother. "Watch a video, play with your toys, go and pester Miss Spink or Miss Forcible or the crazy old man upstairs." "No," said Coraline. "I don't want to do those things. I want to explore." "I don't really mind what you do," said Coraline's mother, "as long as you don't make a mess." Coraline went over to the window and watched the rain come down. It wasn't the kind of rain you could go out in. It was the other kind. The kind that threw itself down from the sky and splashed where it landed. It was rain that meant business, and currently its business was turning the garden into a muddy, wet soup. Coraline had watched all the videos. She was bored with her toys, and she read all the books. She turned on the television. She went from channel to channel, but there was nothing. There's nothing on but men in suits talking about the stock market and sports programs. Eventually, she found something to watch. It was the last half of a natural history program about something called protective coloration. She watched animals, birds, and insects which disguise themselves as leaves or twigs, or other animals to escape from things that could hurt them. She enjoyed it, but it ended too soon, and was followed by a program about a cake factory. It was time to talk to her father. Coraline's father was home. Both of her parents worked doing things on computers, which meant they were home a lot of the time. Each of them had their own study. "Hello, Coraline," he said when she came in without turning around. Said Coraline. "It's raining." "Yep," said her father. "It's bucketing down." "No," said Coraline. "It's just raining. Can I go outside?" "What did your mother say?" "She says, you're not going outside in a weather like that, Coraline Jones." "Then no." "But I want to carry on exploring." "Then explore the flat," suggested her father. "Look, here's a piece of paper and pen. Count down all the windows and doors. List everything blue. Mount an expedition to discover the hot water tank, and leave me alone to work." "Can I go into the drawing room?" The drawing room was where the Joneses kept the expensive and uncomfortable furniture Caroline's grandmother had left for them when she died. Coraline wasn't allowed in there. Nobody went in there. It was only for best. "If you don't make a mess and don't touch anything." Coraline considered this carefully. Then she took the paper and pen and went off to explore the inside of the flat. She discovered the hot water tank. It was in a cupboard in the kitchen. She counted down everything blue, 153. She counted the windows, 21. And she counted the doors, 14. Of the doors that she found, 13 opened and closed. The big, carved brown wooden door, at the far corner of the drawing room, was locked. She said to her mother, "Where does that door go?" "Nowhere, dear." "It has to go somewhere." Her mother shook her head. "Look," she said to Caroline. She reached up and took a string of keys from the top of the kitchen door frame. She sorted through them carefully and selected the oldest, biggest, blackest, rustiest key. They went into the drawing room. She unlocked the door with the key. The door swung open. Her mother was right. The door didn't go anywhere. It opened to a brick wall. When the place was just one house, she said, that door went somewhere. When they turned the house into flats, they simply bricked it up. The other side is an empty flat of the house, the one that's still for sale. She shut the door and put the string of keys back on top of the kitchen door frame. "You didn't lock it," said Caroline. Her mother shrugged. Why should I lock it?" she asked. "It doesn't go anywhere." Caroline didn't say anything. It was nearly dark now, and the rain was still coming down, pattering against the windows and blurring the lights of the cars in the street outside. Caroline's father stopped working and made them all dinner. Coraline was disgusted. "Daddy," she said, "you made a I don't know that word. Recipe? Recipe. You made a recipe. Recipe? It's leek and potato stew with tarragon garnish and melted Gruyere cheese," he admitted. Caroline sighed. Then she went to the freezer and got out some microwave chips and a microwave mini pizza. "You know I don't like recipes," she told her father. While her dinner went round and round, and the little red numbers on the microwave oven counted down to 0. "If you tried it, maybe you'd like it," said Caroline's father, but she shook her head. That night, Caroline lay awake in her bed. The rain stopped, and she was almost asleep when something went. She sat up in bed. Something went. Caroline got out of bed and looked down the hall, but saw nothing strange. She walked down the hall. From her parents' bedroom came a low snoring, that was her father, and an occasional sleeping mutter, that was her mother. Caroline wondered if she dreamed it. Whatever it was, something moved. It was little more than a shadow, and it scuttled down the darkened hall fast, a little patch of night. She hoped it wasn't a spider. Spiders make Caroline intensely uncomfortable. Me too. The black shape went into the drawing room, and Caroline followed it in, a little nervously. The room was dark. The only light came from the hall, and Caroline, who was standing in the doorway, cast a huge and distorted shadow on the drawing room. She looked like a thin, giant woman. Caroline was just wondering whether or not she ought to turn the light on when she saw the black shape edge slowly out from beneath the sofa. It paused and then dashed silently across the carpet towards the furthest corner of the room. There was no furniture in that corner of the room. Caroline turned on the light. There was nothing in the corner. Nothing but the old door that opened onto the brick wall. She was sure her mother had shut the door, but now it was ever so slightly open. Just a crack. Caroline went over and looked in. There was nothing there, just a wall built of red bricks. Caroline closed the old wooden door, turned out the light, and went back to bed. She dreamed of black shapes that slid from place to place, avoiding the light until they were gathered together under the moon. Little black shapes with little red eyes and sharp yellow teeth. They started to sing. We are small, but we are many. We are many, we are small. We were here before you rose. We will be here when you fall. Their voices were high and whispery and slightly whiny. They made Caroline uncomfortable. Then Caroline dreamed a few commercials, and after that she dreamed of nothing at all. End of chapter 1.